Ben Rasa. Wild card weekend. You had the Live Before Lock show yesterday. You got you ready for this 4-game slate. But hey, guess what? There's still a lot happening. There's still 2 games, Ben, and there are still some monster contests. You just look on DraftKings. You get the $600K Sunday special, $200K play action, $200,000 Wildcat, $200,000 bootleg on FanDuel. You've got the big, a number of big ones, but the $800K Sunday NFL special, they split most of their contests up from Saturday, Sunday to begin with. So no shortage of monster contests today, despite the 2-game set.
Oh yeah, no, it's there's nothing wrong. I know it feels kind of weird, but yeah, you win today, you get this one right. That'll you'll be sitting pretty good. Only 2 games, but there's a lot happening. Obviously, we got some injuries to talk about. We got some other things. What did you think of the games yesterday? Did you check them out at all?
Yeah, I watched all of them. Well, I had the Sirius, the Awesome Radio is 5 to 7. I had 8 to 10 a.m. today. That was interesting. It's a good show, but me getting up I'm not used to getting up like at a regular hour for normal human beings, right? Normal adults. So I'd wake up every hour throughout the night checking my phone, thinking that I was going to wake up, not in time, and my alarm wouldn't go off, because it's rare that I have to set an alarm earlier than like 9 o'clock. You work from home, things get different. Your lifestyle changes a bit. As long as I remember to shower and brush my teeth each day, we're in good shape. But no, I thought the Indy game, I had Indy winning this outright. I think they're the better football team, and I didn't expect Watson to struggle as bad as he did. That was putrid, man. He was awful. I actually found it funny that a lot of people were blaming it on Hopkins when, sure, Hopkins wasn't great, but how many balls were thrown at his feet or at the opposing defender? So, yeah, there was that. And then Seattle, they had 59 yards on 21 running back rushing carries. And they couldn't move the ball. Tyler Lockett has 4 for 120, and he only targeted 6 times. I just thought it was wild that you're so inefficient on the ground. The passing game is working. Lockett's been solid, and you decided to go away from that for long stretches of the game, despite totally inefficient running back work.
Yeah, Seattle, it almost seemed like they got too stubborn with this blueprint they've invented, where it was just like, it's not working. I cannot believe they went down without Russell Wilson running. I was stunned at that.
3 for 14, and one of them was an easy design touchdown run.
It was just, that part was baffling. I was very upset. I hit the Cowboys early in the week, which is nice, but I added more yesterday at -2.5. That was a new one for me, in a way to lose the bet, just because they had no kicker, so they had to go for 2, and then that was the worst. I mean, I don't know how often that guy practices onside kicks, but
the worst kick you'll ever see in your life.
That was bad.
I could have put forth a better effort. People say that, and it's hyperbole and it's bullshit. No, I could have. What was he doing?
I don't know. I'm unaware of what happened. That was just the dumbest. I was salty right at that point, because it was just a huge mess, and that was the strategy. Just kick it 50 yards down. Not smart.
Yeah, I don't get it. Nikki Glasses, these 2 guys couldn't pick their own nose with a nose emoji.
We should use the corresponding emoji, which I do. I do like people do that, but
yeah, solid contribution as well. Yeah, but with that
like button,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure anybody told him there was an onside kick coming.
It was
he was trying to. If you saw that kick, you'd be like, okay, he wanted Dallas to have. I don't understand. I don't understand. But yeah, Janikowski was out, so they went for 2 extra points, right? And they converted both of them. Yes, exactly, Janubi. A drop kick. How do you onsides a drop kick? Unless the only idea would be line drive it 10 yards at the other team's head. Yeah. Really?
I mean, there's a number of things you could, like you said, hyperbole aside, there's just a number of things that would probably not work that at least have a chance. What they did there was no outcome there of success. So just squib it, do something, and try to at least create some type of, hysteria and make a mess of it. But that's it for them. They're going home. Obviously, now we got two more. I'm more excited for the games today, to be honest. These two
Me too.
are good ones.
I mean, Ben, he had like 6 seconds of hang time on that.
I genuinely, because like I said, I was so mad. I knew my spread was toast. When he did it, my first thought was, oh, wow, I didn't realize that they had timeouts. That was my first thought was, oh, they had timeouts. And then they just had none. And it was just like, well, that made no sense. Now I'm really confused.
Yeah, really wanted to see him try an extra point because I saw him practicing them, and they were like 47 yards left or right. All right, what do you say we get into it?
Let's do it.
2 games to talk about here. We'll start with the 105, Baltimore at home hosting the Chargers. Kind of an interesting game, right? Both games have 41.5-point totals. This game isn't exactly expected to soar over this, and I feel like the one thing here is a lot like yesterday, where Frank Reich called a great game plan, but they ran the ball down Houston's throat in the first half. Mack finished with 148 rushing yards. Ezekiel Elliott finished with like 126. The teams that could get nothing going at all on the ground really struggled. And I think you'll see a lot of the same today. If Kenneth Dixon, and Gus Edwards, and of course Lamar Jackson can control the ground game, they won't have to rely on his arm. And conversely, Melvin Gordon in this matchup in Week 16 finished with 41 rushing yards and 13 receiving yards, a total of 54 yards from scrimmage. I think that a lot of this will be decided on the ground. The edge goes to Baltimore, but Melvin Gordon has been known to put forth some solid efforts as well. So where do you start with this game?
I think that's well said. The key to me, and this isn't breaking news, is can you force Lamar Jackson into taking 30 dropbacks and throwing the ball? They're not going to have him do that if they don't have to, of course. And that starts with, can the Ravens keep this game on their tempo? Can they establish the run? Can they shorten the game? They've been super successful doing that, obviously. They did that against these Chargers in Week 16. It cost them, they would be resting right now if they could have found a way to win that game at home. Now they're going to Baltimore. I think, I'll get right to it. I like the Chargers in this game. I think that seeing him once will really help them. They're going on the road is not a problem for the Chargers. 7-1. They don't have a home field anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
8-1 if you count London.
There you go. 8-1 if you count London. To me, I know they're not the healthiest team, but Gordon and Keenan Allen are good to go. And you would really have to assume they learned a lot of maybe how to stop the Ravens game, the primarily game plan of just run, and force Lamar Jackson to really beat them. He had the good one to Mark Andrews in that game the first time, but all in all, I think the Chargers are more than willing to live and die with him throwing the ball against them.
Yeah. And on both sides of the game, I mean, Lamar Jackson has, through the air, really not done much at all. He's been just good enough to let the ground game and the defense, put them in the win column. The truth is, he's 4-0 at home since taking over for Joe Flacco at the helm, and they've lost 1 game in overtime against Kansas City. They've also played some bad teams. They faced Cincy, Oakland, Atlanta, Tampa. Cleveland's fine, but it's still Cleveland. Even though, look, I got some respect for the Browns this year. Point is, they played a couple good teams. And the one good team they faced was the Chargers, and they beat them 22-10. I'm with you, though. I think this is a spot where the Chargers can lean on some experience. I don't know how much a difference it makes that Rivers is a 15-year vet. Lamar Jackson was, 5 years old when Rivers came into the league. 5 years old.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's his first playoff game. He's made 7-8 starts. That's not to say that they can't win, right? We've seen young quarterbacks go far. There's a lot of them this year too, whether it's Trubisky or Lamar Jackson. Deshaun Watson was young. Patrick Mahomes. The list goes on. But I do like the Chargers here. Actually, I had all 4 road dogs to cover. Yeah, I'm not talking about outright. I had Seattle at +2, so that was a push. But still, I like the road dogs in these games to cover. I think all of them stay close. We're not at Philly, Chicago yet, but let's actually dive into the players here. We'll start with the top price guys, and I don't mind jumping around a little bit. You've got Melvin Gordon, you've got Keenan Allen, and that's pretty much it in terms of your high-priced options. Both of them on the Chargers, both of them facing a Baltimore team that is one of only 2 teams in the entire league with, according to Football Outsiders DVOA metric, one of only 2 teams in the league with a top 6 pass defense and run defense, the other one being the Chicago Bears.
It's tough. I mean, now this is a 2-game slate we're talking about, so raw points come into play, and this is the playoffs, so you know the work is going to be there. They're going to have to go down if they do lose with these guys. I think just the way I'm approaching the slate, wide receivers a little deeper, even on the 2-game. So if I was going to go against one, it would be Keenan Allen by default, just because I think there are other guys who can match him. Whereas for me, Melvin Gordon, even if he's rendered ineffective, I thought the Ravens did as good a job as you can do against him in week 16. And if he has that kind of performance, I still think there's a very good chance that he winds up in the optimal build today. So if he gets out there and starts catching passes, it's going to be tough not to have him. I do have some of them in the 4-game slate, which obviously I'm not pivoting off there. But he's the one, if I'm going to pay up for one of the Chargers outside of a Charger stack where I incorporate Rivers, I think Melvin over Keenan Allen for me.
Melvin over Keenan for me as well.
Okay.
This is it's interesting because it's a Baltimore team that has struggled against tight ends, just to a large extent in terms of yards per game allowed to tight ends this year. Baltimore, I think, allowing like the 7th or 8th most. But in the middle of the field in general, they really have not been bad at all. So, and slot receivers haven't had a ton of success against them. I know the other time they faced each other this year, Keenan had 5 for 58 on 8 targets. It was also a really rough game for Phillip Rivers. The reason, though, that at a similar price, I lean Melvin is just because that in this game, pretty much regardless of how it goes, he's going to be involved in both phases of the offense. And I think he's finally getting a bit healthier. Last 2 games, I'm not sure he was at full strength at all, and he's dealing with that ankle injury. You have to assume that the way, at least I believe this, the way that they put points on the board and the way that they stay competitive is by trying to keep the ball out of Baltimore's hands, who are just going to look to expose their run defense of the Chargers with a ton of injuries to the run-stopping players, which means that Melvin Gordon gets a ton of touches here in order to try and move the chains and chew up the clock.
He's certainly game script proof, and they love to use him in the red zone. He's going to get looks if they are down by the goal line. There's no doubt about any of that. I just think there's such a narrow path where even in a quote unquote bust, he may, get 10, 12 points. And depending on what Jordan Howard and the 10 Eagles running backs that I feel like you guys have, we'll see how pertinent that can be. So Melvin Gordon, and we've talked, you were just alluding to this. When you're a running back, they can get you the ball. If they want to get you the ball, they'll give it to you. Whereas, someone like DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, obviously there's a little more that goes, you can target them, but it's not like you can just get them the ball as, it's certainly easier to just dump it off to Melvin Gordon, even if you're not handing it off. So I think that we're going to see his volume be up there regardless of where this game goes. And if they can get the lead, they're going to be leaning on him late, heavily to just ice this.
What do you make of the rest of this Chargers team now?
So Mike Williams him and Tyrell Williams kind of are always tough to really gauge. I think like most, Mike Williams has kind of emerged as that second guy on the outside. He's a red zone target. He catches touchdowns. When Keenan Allen went down, he exploded. Mm-hmm. Some of the price I think is inflated due to that, but I don't mind going there. I didn't reach too much though. Like, do you have any interest in like Eckler, Antonio Gates? These are guys that I ultimately didn't get to.
I was thinking about this. How if you're looking at odds and it was this player versus the field, mm-hmm. The player is usually, a heavy dog, right? Like plus whatever. If it was at tight end, Zach Ertz versus the field, he'd probably still be like minus 1,000.
I mean, with Burt, we're going to obviously get there. If Trey Burton doesn't play, it's it's tough because there's not another tight end really that I see who you can peg for more than a couple targets at
Right.
realistically.
Right.
Someone may get some. It's tough.
And Trey Burton hasn't exceeded 30, or he hasn't gone above 36 yards since week 11. Or week 10. He hasn't gone above 40 yards since week 7. So it's not like, I mean, he's been touchdown or bust as well. And the Eagles have been spectacular against opposing tight ends this year. That's one spot they continue to be really, really good, allowing, some of the fewest yards per game and ranking, towards the top in DVOA. We'll get there. But yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like Zach Ertz, and if Burton doesn't play, you're looking at a Chargers or a Ravens team that is literally giving Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, Max Williams, and Hayden Hurst, all of them at least 29% of snaps last week. All of them played at least 29% of the snaps. Yeah, I mean, how do you have any idea how to handle that when the best case scenario is like 2 for 20 and a touchdown?
This is what we're talking about. Mark Andrews also is going to be artificially inflated because he caught and I like that guy. I was on him in that specific game against the Chargers, but that has nothing to do with what we're seeing today. And some people are
twice.
Yeah, it was just a complete luck box. People are going to look at that game log and say, oh, this is the guy who torched the Chargers the first time. Let me go there. I'm not saying don't play him per se, but I don't think that you should feel remotely comfortable. Adam Sheehan or whatever his name is.
Shaheen.
Yeah, just get out of here. I might have some, but my God, these are like you said, touchdown or bust, and there's a chance the floor is clearly 0 for all of them. Then you have Ertz, who's, I don't think it's a good spot, but it's certainly a different type of situation.
It sure is. I mean, you're talking about the guy that just broke the single season record for most receptions for a tight end. So just in terms of volume alone, Zach Ertz we'll get there.
Go
ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know we got away from Antonio Gates. I don't mind him, especially in the 2 game. I don't have any in the 4 game from yesterday. But it's just, I don't think that they're going to really feature him that much. Maybe they keep him honest here and there, but man, it's tough to go there. I don't see a ton of upside, and you're not going to get great ownership because, like you said, if you don't play Ertz, these are the next men up. It's not like he's going to be sneaky.
No, I mean, I'm legitimately considering Dallas Goedert, and if Ertz is going to be 85% owned. But Dallas Goedert could finish with nothing.
Yeah,
he could also see 4 targets, and he has seen some looks in the red zone this year. Once again, we'll get there. I'm just pointing out that Ertz ownership, especially if Burton's out, Ertz ownership is going to be 80%? 80?
Yeah.
Crazy high.
And when you have situations like that, we'll talk about this, but just an overarching theme, you have to find a way to get leverage there in a way of being unique. Use maybe 2 times. Like, I don't know if fading Ertz is the move. Like, even with that, there are ways to be unique within an Ertz lineup, and that's what I'll probably be trying to do.
So that's when I say Zach Ertz fantasy points versus the field. Yeah, what would you put that at?
If Trey Burton didn't play, like minus 800, because
maybe more.
It really would, because he's just, I think a low end. I mean, what do you think's a low target count for him today? 5
or 6, yeah. And then like a low fantasy total is like
10,
8 or 9 or 10, yeah. And a high fantasy total for the rest of the field is like 8 or 9 or 10.
Absolutely, his floor is where those guys' ceilings are. Now he's priced for it, of course. But in this game, I don't know how much I'm going to be messing around with tight ends here. You said it with the Ravens. I really wish a couple guys emerged. Mark Andrews has shown flashes, but in snap count, in role, it hasn't really happened.
Right. And Hayden Hurst has seen 3, 2, and 4 targets over his last 3 games, but dude, he's got 1 touchdown on the season. He hasn't been and he hasn't played an integral role in this Baltimore offense, even when he's been healthy. It's just, he has one red zone target on the entire year. So
it's thin margins. That's I would say before we get to you boys, if I'm going to take a stab, and I have been talk about wrong on this guy, and it's not even, I've been aware of what I'm doing. I'm going back again to Smokey Brown, literally 5-6 weeks in a row now for me. And I know that we look at the game log, you'll see it hasn't been working. I still think that with the narrative that I see this game unfolding, he is the type of guy that will get a huge boost if the Ravens truly have to abandon what they want to do. And if they fall behind and Lamar is forced to throw, I still think that John Brown is the weapon that he was previously, even though it's going to be inefficient targets.
All right. No, look, John Brown, the losing Flacco hurt Brown more than anyone else on this team.
No doubt.
Yeah. Like Michael Crabtree had already been pretty invisible. Willie Snead is fine because he doesn't catch anything more than 10 yards downfield anyway. John Brown took the biggest hit. Unquestionably took the biggest hit. And look, you're right. He's the guy that, even though his reception rate with Lamar Jackson at the helm has been really bad, no question. I mean, it's just been bad. But if Lamar's gonna at least air one or two out, it will be to Brown. Whether or not they're anywhere near in his proximity are a different story, but it will be to Brown. I just wonder, because they've had so much success with the run game, if they were to fall behind, just seeing this from different angles, are they going to fall the way of Seattle, where they just
fair point
refuse to change it because it's the formula that has won games for them? Now, it's just one way of looking at it. I don't know, and if you look at Seattle's run pass, the ratio, it wasn't crazy. I mean, they actually threw a couple more times than they ran. But still, throwing 26 times or whatever is still not enough in a game like that. And it'll be interesting to see what we get with Baltimore. I still like a guy that I've always just wanted to see do well, but whether it be suspension or injury, it hasn't. Kenneth Dixon. I'm a Kenneth Dixon fan. Yeah, I like him. Snap counts, he's still been seeing fewer snaps than Gus Edwards, but he saw 12 carries and a target in the passing game last week, whereas Gus Edwards in the same game saw the same 12 carries and no targets. I honestly think, Ben, that maybe Gus Edwards sees a few more snaps, but I do expect them to split the work almost down the middle.
Do you worry about Ty Montgomery at all?
I mean, I don't like it because you need him, because you're looking at a few targets being taken away, but it's a 2-game slate, so I can't get too concerned about, if he's going to get 2 or 3 targets in the passing game. That's not a concern. I'm not worried about him on the ground whatsoever.
No.
And this is still a team, like, no matter what, this is still a team that runs the ball a ton. And I still expect them to run the ball a lot. And I think Kenneth Dixon at that price tag offers a decent ceiling. Now, there's no way I'd play Edwards and Dixon together. Because I think you need to score, and they would both need to score to kind of get you where you need to go. And I expect one of them to score, but not both. So I'm going to roll the dice on Dixon because I actually think overall he's the more talented back. I just don't know if the volume will be there. I expect them to split the workload, though. I do.
I have no problem with Dixon. Obviously, I think if they fall behind, he clearly benefits. Gus Edwards would take the biggest hit there. There's no doubt about it. He is just not a threat in the passing game whatsoever. So it's weird. Again, this is a 2-game slate, so you can do weird things. I'll tell you, I talk about this in Showdown a lot. I'm going to have some Lamar Jackson teams, and I'm going to have the Chargers defense on those teams because I think it's very possible that they get to him a little more and he makes some mistakes, and that just forces him to run even more and throw even more, which in 2 games, that can work out just fine. So Kenneth Dixon will be in some of those. I think you can pair him and Lamar. Gus Edwards and Lamar, I don't really would get why you would want to do that. They don't connect whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. Of course, unless they do not fall behind and have the lead, then there's enough volume to go around, and that would be the reason if you were to justify it.
For sure. Then I probably wouldn't have the Chargers defense, though. That would be.
Oh, sure. You're talking about when you have the Chargers. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Just running it back.
Okay, perfect sense. Yeah, I thought you just meant in general as a pairing.
Oh, no, because you're right.
Gotcha.
There's, you know what? The Ravens say they have possession for 40 minutes, and, Gus Edwards has 22 carries. Lamar has 15 carries. Dixon, they want to run the ball at will, like you said. So there's plenty to go around in the right game script.
There certainly is. Anybody else here in this one that we haven't discussed?
Not for me. Like I said, I approach this like a showdown. You pick some narratives of how you think the games are going to go and build off that, because it's only two of them. It's more about that lineup construction than when you're attacking a 10, 12 game field.
Right. All right, let's talk about this second and final game then, Ben. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles at Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears. 6.5 point spread here. Bears favored, 41.5 point total. By the way, the Ravens total was at 41.5 about an hour or two ago when I looked. It's at 43 now. Just throwing that out there. They went from 2.5 to 3 point favorites, back down to 2.5. So it's been moving over there on Pinnacle. Keep close watch on that one. But Chicago and Philly has not budged in a while. And from an ownership standpoint on awesemo.com, on our ownership projections, which if you want to check them out and check out all of our content, just use the code when you check out the game plan show, one word, and you get everything free for a week. So if you click join now on the homepage, select your plan, include Fantasy Cruncher add-ons so you have everything, and then use game plan show when you sign out, one word. You'll be prompted to put in a promo code. You can test everything out for free for a week before you buy it if you want to check it out. So that's where we're getting these ownership projections from. We got them on awesemo.com. You also have a whole lot of other stuff like Awesemo, Alex Baker himself, all of his stuff, his lineup builder, his rankings, projections, you name it, and all of our articles, Ben's as well. But you have Allen Robinson and Tariq Cohen is right now on DraftKings projected to be the two highest owned players. That surprises me. I really thought Ertz would be projected significantly higher based on how weak the position is. But I guess there's this thought, and a lot of people do this. People just don't like paying up at tight end, and they feel like it's always the best spot to punt. So maybe that has something to do with it.
I'm surprised. I get that.
Surprised, though, right?
Yeah, I really am. Just because an opportunity cost. I know you have to obviously pick 3 receivers minimal, 2 running backs minimal.
Yeah, I'm just trying to rationalize why it's that low, because I didn't expect that.
No, me neither. And we'll see where it shakes out. Obviously, Tariq Cohen and Allen Robinson, I get why people are on them. They make sense. Allen Robinson, he seems to be good after. I think he had bad ribs. It looks like all systems go. Now we have the Trey Burton news. That's going to push even more people onto the key weapons of the Bears. Not that I love the guy, but I will say, I think that especially if the ownership's going to trend like this, you can look to Jordan Howard. There are narratives. I know running against the Eagles, especially through the strength of it, is not what you want to do. But you could be getting a massive discount in ownership. So I will build some teams like that and just hope that, you get lucky, pass interference in the end zone, and they just slam it in with Jordan Howard. You're going to need some good breaks. There's no doubt. But, this is 2 games, and Tariq Cohen, as good as he is, and I like him, it's not like he's above having an 8-point showing.
Subpar game, yeah. We're showing Jordan Howard a very high ownership too. Again, everyone's going to be high. Yeah, 48% right now.
That is really surprising to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if him and Cohen, I will just to backtrack a little, and then I'll pass it right back to you. If they're close, I will just take the best optimal player. I like Cohen more than Howard in the spot. I was thinking he would be in the 20s maybe in terms of ownership.
Yeah, no, right now I was really surprised too to hear earlier today that Jordan Howard was going to be pretty popular, and I was seeing it around the industry because I didn't see it, but I think I understand why, and it just has a lot to do with people thinking that, and this could be the case, that Chicago just bludgeons the Eagles, controls the time of possession, and gets a lot of red zone trips. Because if that's your thinking, then Jordan Howard could have a super inefficient game and still pay off his price tag on a 2-game slate. Because why else would you be high on someone like Jordan Howard? You have to expect that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, he needs to catch. He needs to catch some fortunate breaks in terms of vulturing some touchdowns. Not I don't see many ways where he truly gashes the Eagles up and down the field. That's just not how I think it's going to happen. This is the most interesting game of the 4 to me. I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend to know what's going on with the Eagles. It's a weird situation. Trubisky, this is the type of game that I think will be pretty telling, to be honest. He doesn't have to win the game, but he's not immune to just making some really dumb mistakes. And I actually think the Eagles defense is somewhat sneaky. Trubisky, he's prone to make plays when he doesn't need to, and he doesn't let the game come to him. Now he also can run. He makes great plays as well. But I'm going to bank on him possibly having a couple ugly ones today, especially if it tightens up and they don't get out to a nice lead early.
I actually agree with you entirely. The one spot Trubisky could really hurt the Eagles is when he goes through his first read and sees the pressure coming and escapes it. That is where Deshaun Watson got them. That is where most mobile quarterbacks have gotten the Eagles recently. The Eagles have an excellent pass rush. Fletcher Cox has been out of his mind. Bennett has looked so much better recently. But we even saw, Josh Johnson, that team had like 88 total yards, but even he at times was scrambling out of the pocket away from the rush. But like better, more mobile quarterbacks that are actually decent, that actually have a threat in the passing game, can give him trouble. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. Can you contain Mitch Trubisky, or are you going to let him run wild on you when you bring a rush? And if it is the former, this could be a rough game for Trubisky in terms of some mistakes and some interceptions. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, he's just, and again, I'm not trying to generalize the player. It's just, I feel like I've seen time and time again with him, when he's rolling, he's great. But when he's not, he doesn't know when to rein it back and let the game come to him. He tries to make, Deshaun Watson's guilty of this too. A lot of these super dynamic guys are. Sometimes they don't take their medicine and they really make some ugly plays. Being at home certainly helps the Bears, but at the same time, they go down early. The crowd's going to be restless. Trubisky, if the offense is stalling, we'll see. And I don't think obviously the Bears defense is going to be super popular today for good reason. They're, at home against a
best
team
in the league.
Yeah, they're an incredible defense. What do you? I know we're jumping around a little. I think getting the Eagles running backs right in this 2-gamer is one of the biggest keys to the entire slate.
Yeah, I'm not touching them.
Really?
I might have a little bit of Sproles.
I kind of like Smallwood.
Do you?
I know you hate that guy, don't you?
Well, it's not that I hate him. It's not that I hate Wendell Smallwood.
If he was in Red Dead Redemption, you would be you'd be doing some things to him. Let's just say that.
Blowing him limb to limb off, right? I feel like this is a really stingy Bears defense, run defense.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest difference, here's how I see it going. I could be totally off. The Eagles, when they faced the Rams, the only time you heard Aaron Donald's name was when they were talking about how he's been invisible all game. Khalil Mack is an absolute dominant force. If Khalil Mack is getting to Foles and he's just blowing this lineup, Foles is going to be in for a bad day. And very similarly to Trubisky, while Foles is not a mobile quarterback, he will make mistakes when he doesn't have a clean pocket. So if Foles doesn't have a clean pocket, it's going to be a really long day for the Eagles. If they can find ways to protect him, look, Jason Peters is no longer in his prime, but he's still one of the better. Not many. You're not going to see many guys protect a quarterback like Peters can do, but he hasn't been able to stay in the game. He's been coming out. There's been this. There's been that. But when he's in there, you're not going to see many people protect a quarterback like Peters can, and it's going to and Lane Johnson as well. So I If I wish I could say I knew, but I do know one thing. This game will be decided on line play.
Oh, no doubt. So for me, my thought was similar to yours in like they do not want Foles without a clean pocket. That's why I get Sproles too. I could see him in Smallwood really racking up, try to negate that pass rush, screens, dump offs, pressure release, which is what I want when I'm targeting a cheap running back like that. Like if Smallwood catches 4 balls today, I'll live with the results. Now I don't know how Josh Adams to me is the one that I think he is a tough sell. He's gonna have to find the end zone.
I have a feeling he won't be used as much as he was in the. Maybe I'm wrong, but
okay.
I could be. Look, I don't. It's total roulette here with the running backs. I really don't know. Like I really, really, really have no idea at all. Can they get anything going on the ground? If they can't, does Doug Peterson abandon the run game? And I guess the question is, with this rotation that they have. Wendell Smallwood, 12 for 53 last game. Josh Adams, 11 for 50. Darren Sproles, 7 for 24. He saw 3 targets. Josh Adams saw 3 targets. Wendell Smallwood saw 4 targets. There isn't really an easy way. It's just if you play one of them, you play one of them. And if that's the case, I'll probably just go with the cheapest one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's more right than not. Obviously, if we had a clear indication of how they were going to allocate the touches, we'd be telling you that. I wish we knew. I don't think anyone really knows.
We don't. So what do you think? What's your play on that?
My thought is, it was similar in mindset to you. Smallwood is 3,300. Sproles 4,400. I was saying, you know what, take the discount, maybe take the ownership discount if it's there. In a situation where I think they're both dynamic enough in the passing game to contribute, and I wouldn't be stunned to see the Eagles put a little more emphasis on get the ball out of Foles' hands immediately, especially if early in the game Khalil Mack and them are getting to him. So I could see the running backs contributing in the passing game, and I'll live with the results for a sub 4K guy if he's getting 5-ish targets in a game.
Right. No, I get it. I do. And they're going to be negligibly owned given how small the slate is.
That's what I'm saying. They'll carry ownership in the grand scheme of things, but I don't think we're going to see massive ownership on any of them.
And look, that's why I am going to have some Nick Foles. It's
okay.
It's
with
not
your boy
fun.
Alshon?
Yeah, with some Alshon, just because the reason I have Alshon over the other guys is kind of simple. Foles, unlike Wentz, is actually willing to throw, and I've said this a bunch of times, is willing to throw those 50-50 balls, right? Those go up and get it type balls to Alshon. And Alshon generally comes down with them. It's something he's really good at. And I think in a spot like this, against a very stout defense, against a team where you're going to have to get the ball out quick, and he might just be heaving them, the one player that I would trust most to come down with them is going to be Alshon Jeffrey. And also, when you look at projected quarterback ownership, Trubisky and Jackson right now are more than double what we expect to see on Foles. And hey, to be fair, Foles, can he just completely disappear, fall off the face of the earth? Sure. But he's looked pretty damn good recently. Actually, he just tied the record with Phillip Rivers for most consecutive completions in a game with 25 last time out. So it's not like he's the worst quarterback. It's not like he's been, as bad as I think a lot of people make him out to be. Nick Foles is playing well. He's super cheap. He's going to be the lowest owned quarterback on a slate that doesn't really have any clear team that's expected to put up a ton of points. So why not get some in there and pair him with Jeffrey? And you know what? I've been playing Foles. I am going to have some Zach Ertz because he's easily the best player at his position. And if this does happen to work, I'd probably regret not having Ertz to pair with Nick Foles, because that's where you differentiate with Foles, of course.
That's exactly. I was about to just say that, Foles is going to provide some natural leverage. So you don't have to get too crazy. Obviously, it's still 2 games. Just to ask, this is your account. Nelson Aguilar's been on a little hot streak here. His price isn't too much. Him and Golden Tate, it seems like most people, if you look at the game logs, obviously you're going to trend towards Aguilar. Do you think that the playoffs maybe give Golden Tate a little boost, or is he kind of just not really working out right now for them, do you think?
I don't think he's working out particularly well. He did see 6 targets last game, but the big thing for me is that let's not forget Nick Foles last year developed some legitimate chemistry with Jeffrey, with Ertz, with Aguilar. Through the first 2 games of this season, Alshon was out, of course, but that Super Bowl run last year, the last 4 games of the regular season, all of those games guys played together. Golden Tate didn't. So Golden Tate's still yet to develop any real chemistry with Foles, and I think it's shown on the field. So I don't see them integrating him heavier in the playoffs, unless, of course, Doug Peterson and Mike Groh, and I don't think this is the case. They're just way smarter than everyone, and they've been just waiting, even though even though they wouldn't have even gotten into the postseason had it not been for a Vikings loss. They're like, if we get in, Golden Tate is going to be unleashed. I have a very tough time seeing that be the case,
I think so. So yeah, Aguilar is another guy. If I do have a couple Eagles, onslaughts or stacks, I could see working him in. But yeah, it's a tough team. These are, I think you said it well. It's for 2-game slate with 4 teams. I really, these are 4 teams that are pretty muddled in terms of expectations, points, team totals. There's a couple of elite defenses, but I don't think, yesterday I think we all kind of thought, not all, but the Colts, the Texans, could be up and down. Cowboys, Seahawks, that game played out somewhat similar to how I thought, at least. These ones are tough. We could see a really slugfest in Chicago today, or maybe it does get up and down, and maybe Foles kind of pushes them and Trubisky is answering and being mobile and really racking up the yards as well.
Right. I'm with you. And in terms of the running back, I think the best matchup is Sproles, just in terms of the passing game.
Okay.
His ability to get in a little bit of space, but I would still honestly rather go with Kenneth Dixon at a $400 discount or Gus Edwards at a $300 increase. And the only reason I say that is because I can rely on volume being there, and that's kind of not the case with Darren Sproles. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be, but there's really no certainty at all. And they played with the lead in each of those last 2 games for almost the whole game. If they play from behind, will Sproles be out there, as the primary passing down back? It's possible, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. So there you have it. Chat seems to like Aguilar. And for me, if it's Aguilar or Golden Tate, it's definitely Aguilar. And the only reason that I talk about Jeffrey here is because Nelson Aguilar, the 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games. First of all, I don't know if you saw the 83-yard touchdown against Washington or against Houston, but it was busted coverage. It was go back and watch it. Mm-hmm. And then 2 touchdowns against Washington. Like, all right, don't get me wrong, he's playing well, but I just think on a week-to-week basis, Jeffrey's far more likely to get into he's just a better red zone threat in every way than Aguilar is. So, I take that into account. Oh, hey, and he's heading back to Chicago for the first time. What's that do for you? Nothing for me personally.
Narrative Street, yeah. No, you talked about it with Alshon. He is the kind of guy, he can, if you trust him and you get that, he can go and get it. Just that, he's got, Kenny Golladay was doing that with Stafford a little. It reminded me of that. And I think Alshon's a better, he's the kind of guy, you can just throw it and he will get you open. He's a big guy, he's physical. And I think they're going to need some of that, because you're not going to be getting a ton of time against this Bears D. You're not going to be getting a ton of separation in the secondary. They're going to have to say, you know what, Alshon, we're going to throw a couple up to you and you just got to go get it. Whether it's Fuller or I don't even, there's a little banged up in that secondary. They're going to have to win those one-on-one matchups for sure.
Right. All right. Let's take care of business with Chicago, and then we'll head out of here and let you guys get to some football. Mm-hmm. What have you got? We'll just conclude what we talked about with Cohen and Howard. Ownership actually projected right now to be relatively close. Cohen's still higher. The Eagles have struggled, though, against pass-catching backs. Like, that has been the case all season long. and I think it continues again today. Actually, only 3 teams have allowed more yards per game through the air to running backs than the Eagles this season. That's Kansas City, Chargers, and the Falcons. But I just think that Cohen can really carve them up and could be a big problem for them, especially when they're trying to bring pressure or get pressure on Trubisky, him being a safety valve there. What are you doing here? And then we'll close it out with Mitch and the rest of this offense.
Yeah, Tariq Cohen, obviously, and that's why he's popular. Most of the time when people are popular, it's for good reason. I totally get why he should have success here. There's no doubt he has incredible upside. But at the same time, when you're a pass catching back like that, the volume is not always super secure, and we just don't know. So I'll weigh that, but I'm definitely going to have some Tariq Cohen exposure. To me, the question with the Bears is we know Allen Robinson's, I think, firmly in play. Do you reach for Anthony Miller? Taylor Gabriel will carry some secondary ownership. I don't feel super comfortable with either, to be honest. Like I prefer someone like John Brown, who I still think he's the number one receiver. It's a terrible overall situation, but I just don't know how much someone like Anthony Miller will even see in a game like this. So for me, outside of the big weapons, I guess the last thing I wanted to say, and then I'll pass it right back to you, is it if we don't know, are you going to keep any Trey Burton?
The only way I would is if I have. So here it is. You're either, if you're playing Trey Burton, you can pivot to Adam Shaheen, or you could pivot to Dallas Goedert. So on the plus side, if he doesn't play, you're at least not totally dead. But you're also talking about someone in Shaheen who has, 1 score and 6 targets on the season. I think it's always a big mistake to expect that just because the starting tight end is out, that his direct backup is going to be integrated directly into the offense. So Adam Shaheen, they called him Baby Gronk. Like, people really liked him coming into the league out of the draft, and he is a talented player, but that doesn't mean that Trubisky is going to look his way. I guess the point would be, though, on a bad week 2-game slate like this, you at least have someone in Goddard who has proven this season that he can have games where he comes alive, right? And then you have someone like Shaheen who at least is capable of catching passes and isn't just strictly a blocking tight end where you're like, all right, yeah, he's getting most of the snaps, but he's doing nothing. So that's the only benefit if you want to do it. It's still a big risk.
I think you can, certainly if you're making a bunch of teams, I think it's wise to have a couple Burton in there. And yeah, obviously if he's ruled out, you pivot down and those teams are in trouble, but you have an out. It's not like it can't be okay. And maybe you're going to get massively reduced ownership on him if he just decides to give it a go. Now, he could be hobbled. It's a groin. That's not a late addition injury with a groin in particular doesn't seem like the best set of circumstances.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're making it, these are top heavy monster tournaments and it's 2 games. If Trey Burton, who isn't, he's not exactly known for running up it, like you're really banking on him finding a couple red zone targets anyway. Can he still? That's what I'm saying. And I don't know how much that will be limited regardless. So you're going to get a sliver of what he would have been in terms of ownership. I will probably roll the dice certainly on some spots if he says he's going to give it a go. And if not, I'll probably go to Goddard like you recommended.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, revenge game for Burton. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles last year too. So there you have it. Yeah, right. It's tough. It's also concerning given that he wasn't even on the injury report for most of the week. So I don't know what to make of it. But the Eagles are good against tight ends. Like if there's one spot defensively outside of the run defense that they have strength is at containing tight ends, which is why I say I don't expect big yardage totals to come from Trey Burton. Even if he's healthy, he needs to score. And that's why I'm not particularly high on him. Let's close it out. Wide receivers, A-Rob and Gabriel. I have some interest in Gabriel. I do. Taylor Gabriel is one spot that I will probably have some of. It's either him or Robinson. And Robinson right now is projected to have the highest ownership of any player on the entire slate. So that is something to keep in mind.
Definitely. We've seen Taylor Gabriel too when he was with Atlanta. Like, he's an explosive guy. They can get him in, similar to Tariq Cohen. They can get him in some unique plays, pop passes, swings, reverses.
And that's where the Eagles are terrible too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an exploitable way. So it doesn't just have to be Cohen in those. You could see Taylor Gabriel get some of that. And again, 2-game slate. It's not all about ownership and leverage. But when you're telling me one guy's 60% and the other's 20%,
right?
You think Allen Robinson outscores him 3 out of every 4? Probably not. Even though he's in a better situation overall, and most likely he will. That's not the point. So if you're going to get massive ownership leverages, you can look to some spots and be unique. I like him far more. Anthony Miller, I think, is going to be a really good player. I'm just not sure about the targets that he's going to get. Maybe he does get a boost if Burton sits and they decide to split more wideouts. I think that's a big reach, though. There's other guys in the Chargers and Ravens game that I prefer.
Yeah, it's tough for another. Miller's another guy that you would need a score. Now he's found the end zone 7 times this season, but you would need a score. And look, you're going to have to run risk somewhere, whether it's with John Brown or I'll probably go Brown over Miller. Both of them are ridiculously risky, but you're going to have to go cheap in some spots if you want, or you do it at tight end and then you can load up everywhere else. It's just kind of one of those days. Anything else here, Ben, before we head out, if you want to touch on the defenses and then we'll get out of here.
No, I mean, for me with the defenses, I'm probably going to pay down mostly. I mentioned I like the Chargers defense, and I said the Eagles are one. Trubisky is just a guy that I'll always look to target against. I think he plays a little volatile. You just said, I think that's the point to be made. It's 2 games. You're not going to feel super comfortable with your lineup. And I'll take it a step further. If you do, and your lineup is close to 50,000, it's going to be duped by 100 people. So
yeah. 100 might actually be a low range estimate.
Yeah, that's generous, honestly. So you're probably going to want to have to say, you know what, I'm going to take one of these guys that the floor is near 0 and hope that they either find the end zone or they get a big boost. And that's the leverage you're going to need to take down a 2-game slate. So kind of embrace it like Showdown.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Good luck. Maybe someone in here will take it down. Take that. There means some huge contests for a 2-game slate. So, yeah, it's just it's going to take some luck, no question.
Yeah.
It's going to take some luck. So best of luck to you guys. If you enjoy the show, you appreciate our content, hit us with a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated, and it really helps us out. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you know when all of our content's dropping. Hey, enjoy today's games. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll catch you back here. Well, for the deeper dive, plenty of other content on Monday. And then Ben and I will be back here breaking down divisional round weekend next week. Good luck. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Good stuff, boys.